Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're doing another voiceover video, and I decided to do these 20 questions that I found on a blog called Paper Fury. Before we get into that though, I'm just going to talk about the spread a little. I did a spread based on the book Happily Ever After, which is a set of novellas based on the Selection series by Kiera Cass, and then also Maybe Someday, which is a romance novel by Colleen Hoover. Yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions about the books or anything like that, just leave it in a comment and I'll reply to you as soon as possible. So let's get right into the questions. I will definitely put the link to these questions in the description so that you can also answer these questions for your own video if you'd like. The first question is, how many books is too many for a series? So honestly, I don't really mind long series. Some of my favorite series, like Throne of Glass, are, how many books are there? 7? Maybe 7. But usually I like to read series that are either 3 or 4 books long. Anything longer than that can sometimes get boring. For example, I know some trilogies that should have stayed as trilogies. For example, The Selection. The 4th and the 5th book were not the best in my opinion. And also a series like Shatter Me. I love the first 3 books. The last 3, not so much. So definitely 3 or 4 is my preference, I would say. The second question is, how do you feel about cliffhangers? Honestly, I like to say, oh, I hate cliffhangers, blah, 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 but it definitely makes the story more interesting and it makes me more excited to read the next book. So I definitely would say that I actually do quite enjoy them, and it's always fun to see what kind of twists that the author can pull in, especially because I personally don't see twists coming very often. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I totally saw that coming, but I'm not one of those people. So it's usually a pretty big surprise to me. The third question we have here is hardcover or paperback. And I honestly don't really care. I mean, I do think that hardcovers are prettier, like especially if there's like designs on the actual cover under the dust jacket, but I also think that paperbacks are cheaper, which is great, and you can also bring them around easier than a hardback. And yeah, honestly, okay, I'm not doing a very good job at answering these questions because I'm just saying really random answers, but I don't really have a preference between hardcover or paperback. My fourth question is, what is your favorite book? So I don't like picking my favorite book because that's too hard. I do like to say often that I have 2 favorite series, which are The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare and Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. Those are my top 2 favorite series, and I do have a lot of other favorite series, but if anyone ever asks me, those are the 2 that I give out. And then the fifth question is, what is your least favorite book? Honestly, I'm not a person who really keeps track of books that they don't like because I just don't like thinking about it. I'll read it and move on, and then I'll never talk about it again. Or actually, I will talk about it again when someone asks me if it's a good book, and I'll say no, and that's about it. But off the top of my head, a series that I didn't really enjoy was The Raven Cycle. I read all 4 books. I don't know why, because I didn't like any of them, but I ended up reading all 4 books and I did not enjoy a single one of them. So there's that. Question 6 is, do you like love triangles? Yes or no? I think that a lot of love triangles, it's pretty obvious who the main character is going to end up with, so they're kind of pointless. But there is one specific love triangle that, if you're someone who likes to read, you probably know the love triangle from The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare. That is the one love triangle that I will always love. It's so good. Everything about that series is so good. Other than that, I just find other basic love triangles like Katniss, Peeta, and Gale. That was trash. She was obviously going to end up with one person. I'm not going to spoil it, even though I think it's pretty obvious. Another love triangle would be like Jacob, Bella, and Edward. That's so, like, those love triangles are so pointless to me. So anyway, usually no, but sometimes yes is my answer. Question number 7 is, the most recent book that you couldn't finish. So I actually have never not finished a book. Like, I never DNF a book. I always read it through, even if I really, really, really don't like it. But I guess I could say the most recent book that I had a hard time finishing was Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. I love I've loved all of the other books that I read from her, but this one just didn't do it for me. I don't know. The story was not really grabbing my attention, so I was just kind of bored when I was reading it, even though I'm sure a lot of people do love the book. Question number 9 is a book that you're currently reading. So I'm currently rereading the Six of Crows series by Leigh Bardugo. I've reread it a couple times, but I thought I would just reread it again because my friend actually recently borrowed the book from me and I lent it to her. So she was talking about how she actually ended up liking the series a lot. So I was like, now I want to reread it. So yeah. Question number 10 is the last book you recommended. I guess since I literally just told you that I lent the book Six of Crows to my friend, I recommended that last. Wow, I'm just babbling right now. But anyway, another book that I recently recommended was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. So as I said, I really do love Colleen Hoover's writing, just that one book, Without Merit, was not it for me. But yeah, I really, honestly, after I finished reading It Ends With Us, I was like mind blown for days straight. I couldn't even like think about anything else. It was so good. So yeah, that was the last book I recommended. So hopefully my friend reads it soon so that we can talk about it. But yeah. The next question I have is oldest book you've read. I'm not really sure publication date wise. I have read a few classics. So the only classics I remember reading, even though it was like a long time ago, I'm not really a classics person, was probably either Little Women or Swiss Family Robinson. I did really enjoy those books when I read them, but I haven't had the urge to reread them. But those would probably be the oldest books I've read. And then question number 12 is the newest book you've read. Publication date wise, it's probably Chain of Gold, even though that came out in March. I haven't really been reading new books, especially since we're in quarantine right now. I haven't been going to the library, so I've just been rereading all of the books I already own and a few books online, but those obviously have been published a while ago. So the newest book is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, and it was so good. It's a spin-off of the Infernal Devices series, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. Question 13 is your favorite author. I think I'm just going to talk about some auto-buy authors that I have. So authors that I will definitely buy whatever book they come out with, no matter what, would probably be Cassandra Clare and Sarah J Maas. So funnily enough, those are the authors of my two favorite series. But honestly, I'm so trash for anything Sarah J Maas, and I really will just read anything she writes. And I'm also trash for Cassandra Clare. I have basically all of her Shadowhunter books, except for what's it called? The one on Magnus Bane that has a bunch of short stories. And then also the series with Magnus and Alec. Oh my gosh, I literally can't remember the series name. It's something along the line. The first book is like The Red Scrolls of Magic. Oh, the short stories with Magnus is called The Bane Chronicles. My sister just told me. Anyway, moving on to the next question. Would you rather buy or borrow? So like I mentioned, I do go to the library usually when it's not closed because of quarantine. But since it is closed right now, I've just been reading a lot of my old books. And I actually don't usually buy a book until I've read it. So that's the way that I keep my shelf kind of minimal, even though I do have a lot of books. But I always read the book before I buy it. So yeah, I do love the library. It's a great way to read books without having to pay the expensive costs of buying a book, because books are so freaking expensive for no reason. So yeah, I do love buying and owning my own books, but going to the library is great too. Okay, one more question before I finish this video, because I don't think we'll have time to get to all of the questions. So maybe I'll continue it in another video. We'll have to see. But the last question that I'm going to do is a book that you dislike that everyone else loves. So like I mentioned before, The Raven Cycle, I know it's really popular. A lot of people love that series. I personally just did not enjoy it, and I really don't know why I forced myself to read all 4 books. But another series or another book that everyone loves and I just could not, like, I couldn't see it, was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I know it's so popular. Everyone's in love with that series. I got a copy of the ARC, which is an advanced reader's copy if you didn't know, and I was reading it and I was so bored. But honestly, since so many people like it, I think I might try and reread it someday. We'll have to see. If I get really bored, maybe I'll do that. And recently, I also read Looking for Alaska by John Green, and I know it was pretty popular a few years ago, but honestly, I was just also not into it. It didn't grab my attention. Everything about it was pretty boring to me. So sorry if you're a John Green fan. I think it wasn't good. So anyway, that's all the questions I got through today. I'll probably answer the rest of the questions in another video, so keep an eye out for that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!